Welcome back, everybody. Today I wanted to walk you through my evolving thoughts on stacking firewood like you see behind me here versus a big heaping pile of firewood like you see behind us. This one's up off the ground, but I'm going to walk you through kind of my first impressions, how it's worked out for us so far, how we got here, and what we plan to do in the future. So stay tuned and I'll walk you through all that. So I'll start off with a big disclaimer. I only know what I know, and my experience is what I've experienced, what I've been told, what I see on the internet. This is how I was raised to do firewood. Long stacks out here in the elements. We're blessed to have elements, a field to stack this out in, but this is up off the ground on pallets. If you have access to the pallets, 4x4 wooden pallets, those work great for keeping things off the ground, but you can use tree limbs or whatever you want. And yeah, we don't have stakes on either end. This is all self-supporting. Every 8 to 12-ish feet, we've got one of these, a cribbed row, and that supports it for the whole year. We try not to stack them much more than 4 foot high. That's good for, or easy for measurements, and reduces the likelihood of them tipping over, especially where we have kids helping build these sometimes. And yeah, it works out great. And here's just a less beautiful side of the pile, so we've already brought this half into our woodshed for this winter or next winter. Most of it's going to be for next winter. But we cut our wood to 16 inches, and on a 4-foot pallet, you can usually fit 2 rows, which we had here, of 16-inch wood, and we throw all the chunky stuff kind of in the middle. All the stuff that's hard to stack neatly, we throw it in the middle, still dries just fine, helps support the rows, and yeah, it burns great. It's just a little more cumbersome to deal with and stacks less pretty. So some of you that have seen this stack in the background of other videos this summer and into the fall say I drank the Kool-Aid from Chris from In the Woodyard. Big fan of his channel and what he puts out, and this is how he does firewood. He's got a firewood business. We don't, we just use it for ourselves. But he's out in a big pasture in Wisconsin, and he's just got mounds and mounds of these he builds with a conveyor. We're just throwing this in by hand. This was a little experiment I wanted to try. We have an abundance of firewood that's been down for a couple year and a half now, tree service wood that was delivered to us. So it's on its way towards seasoning, and we don't need it anytime soon, so I figured this would be a good experiment for us. I had a bunch of extra pallets, and my test was, this is 5 pallets wide by 3 pallets deep, so it's about 12 feet by 20 feet plus or minus, and I plan to put a front on this today and just stack this as high as I can. And I suspect by next winter, a lot of it's already dry, full disclosure, a lot of it's ash ready to burn now, but I'm fully confident that even if I put some oak on top of here, which I'm going to, it's going to be fully ready to dry for next winter. So I just wanted to walk you through my preliminary thoughts on this and how I built it. It's about 16 degrees and windy right now, so it's not so windy in the garage, but I'm letting the tractor warm up. And you might have saw me in the intro dump a shot of fuel treatment into the tank there. So ever since I bought the Kubota, that was my first diesel engine about 4 years ago, I've really dove into the science of diesel engines and how they differ from gasoline engines. And right off the bat, I learned that it's probably well worth the time to make sure you put good quality fuel in there at all times. Our tractor, thankfully, for now, doesn't sit too long. I get to use it quite a bit. But if it were to sit, and the fuel were to sit, it's a great peace of mind. And based on my research, this is what you just saw me dump in, the Hot Shot Secret EDT plus winter defense. So if you buy your fuel in a cold climate from a station, chances are it's pre-treated, so not to gel up. When it gets cold like this, we're going to spend quite a bit of time near zero in the coming weeks. But this is just a good extra peace of mind for me. And yeah, anyone that follows the channel know that I bought a diesel truck this summer, and I used the same fuel additive, the non-winter defense blend in the warmer temperatures. But now that it's cold, I've been putting the cold stuff in. I'll do a deeper dive into that in the future, but I'll post a link in case you're interested in the meantime. But when it warms up again, I'll show you some real numbers about my fuel economy with and without, and impressed so far. Yeah, I think that's my next step. This bin is fairly full, but I'm gonna really fill it up. I got quite the pile of chunks right here. So I'm gonna grab 5 more pallets and show you how we're gonna slap them on here and make a bin we can really pile up. So as I muscle around these crusty old pallets, I realize a main reason you wouldn't do something like this and lean more towards a neat, beautiful stack is if you had a smaller property and you and all your guests were gonna see this every day for a year, 2 years. It's not the prettiest looking thing in the world. I'm gonna take my time and align these pallet slats all oriented in the same direction. I'm gonna use some fresh pallets. I got 4 fresh ones. The rest are pretty beat up for the front, so maybe it'll help a little bit, but something to keep in mind. Usually try to save my noodle and chips for the birds and the mice. Just pile them up somewhere so they can find them. Is that a bad idea? Anybody else do that? Oh, it's almost like a beautiful picket fence back here. If you use your imagination. Everything's a little more challenging when it's frozen solid. So my idea here is I'm just going to try and put 2 screws at the bottom of each pallet just to hold it in place while I secure the top some other way. Whoa. And I like to use these brass looking construction screws. They're usually the spot in the sunlight. Oh yeah, we've got all kinds of room for firewood in there. So the main idea, it's like I said, not pretty, but we don't want this thing blowing out and spilling the firewood out onto the ground. If you pick it up, again, completely defeats the purpose. The whole reason we're doing this is so once it comes off the splitter, it doesn't need to be touched again until we're ready to put it near the wood stove, theoretically. The stacking method, you got to pick it up again and stack it. Of course, I've seen folks stack it off the splitter. I couldn't do that. Don't have enough help to do that. But so I've got this spare electric fence, super strong. I'm just gonna wrap cordage around the top and then around the bottom, and then it should stay put just about forever. So yeah, one of my biggest complaints about the splitter is it's super heavy, which is good because it means it can do a lot of work. And it's probably gonna last, but even muscling around to do little ergonomic changes like I'm doing here, whew, take the wind out of me. So any of you that haven't seen this, this is our county line 40-ton hydraulic log splitter. It will flip up to do vertical mode, which we just used the other day. So any rounds, you can see the chunks behind me. I call them chunks because they're not rounds anymore. These rounds were of 34-inch diameter trees. There's no way one of us could lift them up on the table. So I flipped this up vertically, chunked them up. Got other videos on that if you want to see it. But today we're just using it in horizontal mode. Works great. This is our 4th year of service and no issues. We keep good clean fuel in it. This pink means I keep 25 gallons of gasoline on hand at any given time, and for the non-ethanol 93 octane I put pink flagging on it just so I don't get it mixed up. I don't use that in everything, but things that have a tendency to sit for a little bit, like the log splitter or the sawmill, or any 2-stroke, I'll use non-ethanol. And but like the lawnmower that I get to use every 3 or 4 days in the summer, that just takes regular. Oh yes, that's easier to come by. It does not have pink flagging on those jugs. And like I said before, this tank is pretty fuel efficient. I think it'll go like 2 full hours at full throttle, so you don't have to gas it up too often. But I think we ran it for almost 2 hours there on New Year's to chunk this up. last piece. So you want to know what's crazy? Less than 3% of y'all that watch these videos, and there's a lot of people, are subscribed to the channel. So if you found yourself having watched more than one of my videos and don't feel like it's a complete waste of time, please consider subscribing and liking this video. It means a lot to me. But now let's check out the pile. So our bin here isn't quite full. We've got that back corner that's still raring to accept some more split wood, but we finished our whole pile. I know I didn't give you a great look at it to start, but it took me, I guess I got lost in time. I was out here for like 3 hours. So you saw I had those bigger headphones. I got 3M work tunes for Christmas. Those are pretty slick. I just got lost in an audiobook and don't have my watch on, so I just went till I finished, and the family came to visit. But the bigger downside of this bin is it's harder to get an accurate quantity. So if you were trying to, if you had customers come to your house to pick up wood, or if you wanted to get a real accurate measurement, according to the internet, so a cord of wood is 128 cubic feet when it's stacked and when it's 16 inches. No matter, as long as it's stacked, doesn't matter how long the pieces are. But some calculations I found online, I think it's commonly accepted that 16-inch pieces thrown come out to about 180 cubic foot per cord. So if my measurements on this are accurate, and we'll say they are, that this is 20 feet long by 12 feet wide, and conservatively we'll say it's about 5 feet tall on average when it's all done. That comes to about 6 2/3 cords, and that's more than enough to heat our house for a mild winter. So that's pretty impressive. And I'm not gonna lead you guys astray. If we dig into this into next fall and it's all wet and soppy on the bottom, I'm gonna let you know. But for you to know, you gotta subscribe. So thank you very much for following along today. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you at the next one. Take care.